Alright, this is McKee with the water company. I'm going to try to wrap up a quick video for you showing the layout of the Ridge. So we're here at the Ridge in 783 between Kerrville and Harper. We're going to start with the controller. We got a Weathermatic, the 9600. We do have a smart link, but it's not connected to cellular. I don't know if it has a card or not, so you just have to go through the systems. I've got a book that I've made that shows all the programs in here. So we're going to talk about the wire path and just start walking along the route. So we're going to go, this is a 2-wire decoder system. It goes down here, comes out here, and I've got a map that'll show the 2-wire path, and it's also going to show all of the boxes in the zone. So, but we're going to walk through right here. It's going to 2-wire with green wire into this box, which this box has got 4, 5, 6, and 7 decoders. Here's what that looks like. Alright. So I try to keep everything as separated as I could, but these are your decoders. If you're not familiar with 2-wire, it's actually amazing, but can be problematic when you're troubleshooting stuff. But those green wires that look like Romex, they're double jacketed direct burial wire. And you have to use these connections that are 3M connections, at least on the 2-wire path. So we have our 2-wire coming in and out. You could see that it's coming in and out with green, but it's also going in and out with red and white. So this holds the decoders for 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let me show you where that goes. Now that the 2-wire path is going to keep going that way, but first we're going to show you that red and white, and then all the other red and whites that are on the, not on the 2-wire path, but on the solenoid side, they go this way, under the driveway. So 4, 5, 6, they're going to go this way. You can see on here, 6 is all the beds back here. 4 is literally, it says 4, 5 right here, but 4 is like 3 sprinklers right here. 5 are all the rest. And then you got a couple solenoid boxes, because the decoders comes in with the decoder and then it goes to the solenoids. Under this yucca, you got solenoid for zone 6. Zone 6 is all of the mulch beds up here, from the propane tank behind this stagecoach, all up in here, all this mulch bed. I haven't pathed all the drips, but that's where it goes. Then the 2-wire path keeps coming down here with the red and white. You go through here, you got red and white, and the 2-wire path keeps going. This is solenoid for zone 4, which is irrigation sprays, rotary sprays, but they're pop-ups that just spin rotaries. They're not the big old grass rotaries, just the pop-up rotaries that right along there. And you got zone 5 right here. That's all the rest of this grass. That's the solenoid there. But the 2-wire path keeps going from this box, and it goes up through this mulch bed here, through this donkey. He's got indigestion now from the 2-wire path. Then it goes under here. And when you get over here, it actually crosses up. I'm not going to take you there, but you can see where I'm taking you. It goes up. I can't zoom in. Right up there. Once the wall steps up, you got a wagon truck, or an old dump truck there. But you got that yucca over there. There's a box over there, this rectangle. It's got a solenoid. That's the end of the 2-wire path. That solenoid, actually, there's a pressure regulator or a filter, I'm not sure, but you got something, and a solenoid and a decoder for 21 up there. So you got 4, 5, 6 solenoid, 6 drip, 4 is here, 5 is all the rest of this grass, which includes all around this Mountain Laurel. and this electric panel, all that stuff. Now down there, we'll get to it, but that's 1 and 2. Those are drip, and they're problematic because there's some faulting wires going underneath the driveway. Sometimes one wire decides to fault, sometimes another wire decides to fault. Now, we talked about the decoders for 4, 5, 6, and 7 being in here. 7 operates the drip tube emitters on this HVAC wall. We have another spot, only one other spot that's like this. See? The other spot is zone 23, I believe it is. We'll get to it. That's down the hill at the Globe. But that 2-wire path goes then from that box, and in here you've got purple line. You're going to see a lot of purple line in the ground here because the irrigation is run primarily from rainwater off of the cafe and faucets, hand washing sinks. We call it gray water, and so it's like septic line, but it's not bad septic line. It's just soap suds and the like, and so that's why it's in purple. I have one spot I had to repair today, and I had to do it in white, and I'll show you where that's at. But that goes through here. You got to be on the lookout for this stuff. I got to keep unburying boxes. So here is the pressure regulator for 7. Here's the solenoid for 7. These are over here in the grass. That's going to confuse you because they don't serve the grass. They serve those drip tubes, but that's where those are. Normally you would want the decoder with the solenoid, but the 2-wire path doesn't come up in that box. It does come up in there. It's actually lower than these boxes as far as I can tell. So that's how it goes. It keeps going down this way. Now this took a while to figure out, but you could see these get buried. The guys don't know any better. They're just trying to water things and stop kids from tripping. This is solenoid for box 8. That's the next one you come up with. That's a solenoid. You don't see the 2-wire path in it because the 2-wire path doesn't surface till you get that 8-inch round box. But this 4-inch round box, it's a solenoid for 8. Zone 8 is all the grass here. Zone 9 is out there. Zone 10 is grass also, but it's only got one sprinkler here. And then you go to the other side of this path, and I'll show you down there. Oh, hell, let's walk down there. It's right there, and it sprays around here. You can still see water around here. It's big old spray right there. So they kind of cross-feed each other. But then it sprays this grass up here. And so you got a couple oaks here, which these are, I believe, 13, but I haven't found drip tubing in there yet. And this grass right here. Down to right there. That's it. Then you got 16 and 17 back here. We'll come back. Come back with me. Stay with me. Alright, so now we got these beds are 12. This bed here is 13. Yeah, this bed is 13. That bed back there is 13. And it goes to the new, I think it's a cedar elm. Big oak tree over there. Anyway, right here, this is the one. It's got, you got a ball valve in here, but you also have 2 decoders, a 2-zone that's 8 and 9, and a single zone that's 10. So we talked about 10. I just showed you where that is. So that's the 2-wire path. Decoders there. 8 and 9 are the lawns here and the lawns there. Then you got this box right here. Here's the solenoid for 10. We just talked about. So there's your decoder for 10. Here's your solenoid for 10. That's the 10 path. And we keep going through here. As far as I know, there's nothing else in here, but some of these stations have pressure regulators, some of them don't. And I'm not worrying about that yet, but right now here we got the solenoid for zone 9. Zone 9 is all of this area until you get 10 crossing into it. 2-wire path keeps coming this way. Actually goes underneath part of this flagstone, and there was a ground fault in here, so you just got some splice right in here, and it goes from there, keeps going this way, and then it 90s over into this box. You're gonna see the decoders for 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. One of those is a 2-zone decoder. I think it's 12 and 13. A single for 11, single for 14. The one for 11's got some duct tape that writes it on there. But you also have the solenoids for 11 and 12 in that box. 13 and 14 solenoids we're going to talk about over here. But you're going to see a red and a white in there. When you trace the red and the white that go from decoder for 14, they actually go back up into the same trench. In that trench, you got purple 1-inch pipe. You've also got some white 1-inch pipe. You've also got some big old, might be 8-inch or 12-inch corrugated kind of rainwater or culvert type of material. But it goes back up to the solenoids over there for 14. 14, I don't think we talked about yet, but 14 actually, solenoid is right here. And 14 serves all of this drip all the way to the corner, and then 15 is all of that drip down at the gift shop. We've got some pop-up indicators over here, one over there by the playground equipment. I think we got another one over here somewhere, yeah, right next to that walk path. And they don't really pop up. You can see water coming out of them, but this whole zone is too much water demand for that zone. That's going to have to be split. So if you're seeing this after we've split it, but we haven't yet as of this recording. Now we've got over here in this area that we said 8 and 9. This is 9 waters. You've got a solenoid here for 13. You've got a pressure regulator here. You got a ball valve, and you've got a clean out. So those don't really matter, but if you need to isolate part of this system, might be on that ball valve. But 13, let's see what 13 does. 13 is all this drip tubing. You can see drip tubing right here. 13 definitely is coming out of there. It's supposed to basically be all of this. It's supposed to be that. Some of that drip tubing is pretty far in there. It's hard to tell, but as far as I can see, it's accurate. I don't know about this, but that's what the old maps show. Now here you've got drip tubes doing nothing, and then you got drip tubes doing something. The drip tubes that I can't find what it's supposed to be coming from, and it might be that it needs to connect to these that were cut. So we just put in this tree, well, Billy and Rick did, and it's kind of drip water feeding from this storage tank. That's great. You got 3 tubes coming out of the ground there. They are dripping when you turn on 13. But this tube, this tube, this tube, and this tube are not. Now I'm sorry, I said 3 over there, but you also have a 4th tube section that's visible, and it's this one right here, this little hook by that stump cut off. That drips also when 13 is on. Not a lot, but it does work. So I think that these 3 here and that one right there are supposed to be connected to those ones so that 13 runs all of this, all of that, potentially that, but definitely this as well. Alright, now at some point in this box, if you were to trace it, you're going to see down, it's about 1.5 feet deep, and the water lines keep going down this way. But someone must have had a problem with the 2-wire path, and so I've got that dead line in here, because then that dead line, it would have kept going down there, but they put a line here that you could see about 3 inches, 4 inches below the mulch. It crosses right here, goes right over here near this rock line, and then it hugs it about 1 foot away right here, and then it goes across here, and you can see this mulch. It's actually, I've never gotten into it, but somewhere right around here, there's some buried splices. Right now they're working, so I'm not going to get into those, but they go into here. And then you got these boxes down here. Another box there. Don't let that thing get buried, because I had to refine that. I have to label that, but that's the solenoid for zone 16. In here you got a decoder for zone 15. Here's what I tried to do. Also look on the bottom side of these boxes. Here's the decoder. I try to mark it here because the UV from the sun is going to make that go away. Then in here you got 16 and 17. They're new decoders. You also have the solenoid for 15 here. So decoder here, jumper wire over here to solenoid there. Right here we got nothing. It's like a ball valve. I mean, it's not nothing, but not for the irrigation 2-wire path and regular use. You've got a capped water pipe here, and here supposedly got some water splices. That's what I hear. I wasn't going to dig it up, and there's nothing interesting for me. Everything else was found, so I'm not so worried about it. But here, again, that is the solenoid for 16. We've got the solenoid for 15 over there. Now this area over here, the original map showed that this was, let's see, I've got it written here as 17 and 16. It originally showed down here as 17 and up there is 16, but right now I'm seeing it function in the reverse, and it could have just been that the decoders that we had to replace, we switched them, flip-flopped them, but doesn't really matter so much. Here's the solenoid box for 17. Right here behind that big old tree. So you got sprays that are all along here, and they're just pop-up sprays. They're not rotators. They're just straight sprays. They fan out. You can angle the degrees. So if you ever get some browning in here, up here is 17, down there is 16. So they kind of flip-flop. But then all this corner down here, all this bed, this is 15. And you got some pop-up indicators. They don't really pop up all the way because it's another big zone, but it's not really watering a whole lot. You get some trees. Are these? No, it's not persimmon. You got a big old persimmon back there, but you got some trees over here and some bushes and some stuff. Now, that 2-wire path keeps going down. One thing to know before we go down there is you do have all along the back, these beds here are drip tubes, and they are zone 11. Let's see, 11, yeah, you can see it on my map here, zone 11. There's a pop-up indicator right here in this bush right there, so you do have that. Here's the bathroom, the door to the bathroom. Look for that pop-up indicator. This is all 11 drip tube. And we know that 11 decoder was over there. Dang it, where was the solenoid for 11? I'll probably have to add that to this video because we saw the solenoid up there for 8, 9, 10. We got 15, 16, we got 17 there. Where's the solenoid for 11? I'm going to have to add that to the map. Well, it's on my map, but it's not in my hand. We'll talk about that later. It might come up in my mind. Now, you do have something that's kind of hiding out here, right behind this peach tree. This is a very big peach tree. You have this guy. That's for a pressure regulator and a solenoid for zone 1. But the decoder for zone 1 is in here. So that 2-wire path then goes from there down through here into here. You used to have this big ass pot right on top of it. That's the way we do things. And it goes into here. It goes in here and out there. I said, you know what? When I had a problem with the pump not working, I'm going to also tie into there. So I've recently added this new green line. Part of it has been washed out. It's not very deep, but we're going to keep adding mulch, I'm sure. So here it goes around to the back side of the gift shop, and that is the main deal. If all your irrigation's not working, it's either the pump, which is in the ground under that turf there, that's holding rainwater and gray water, or it's the pump controller, or the master valve. Now, the master valve is programmed for 97. 97 is your decoder for master valve. And check this out. So inside here, and there's that green wire you can see, comes up there, goes over there, goes into here, boom, there it is. Master valve 97. It's buried from that box number 1, tees in, goes along in here under the rocks. See? We're trying to label it as much as we can. There it is. Decoder says, I got the signal no matter what station's on. They're all going through that master valve. There's a relay in here. The relay sends the power from this disconnect. Make sure that this is in the on position. You can see Well, this doesn't say on off, usually they do, but you can see the tabs are on the bottom of that, and this could be this way or this way. If it's this way, it's just kind of setting in there, but it's not moving the power. You need it to be on the bottom. Should be in the bottom, unless we got a problem, we're servicing stuff, and then since it doesn't say, I'm going to pull it out. Anyway, that goes through there, and that sends power through into here. You got a couple soda can looking things in here. I'll show you. It's hard to do with one hand. Right there, those are start and run relays, or not relays. This is a relay, but it's really not doing anything. That's for traditional well pump. The pump in the ground, this is a 2 horsepower pump controller. Those are capacitors. They look like, I call them soda cans. Start capacitor and run capacitor. If those blow, which frequently happens in storms, your pump won't run. It's going to be very hard to diagnose. So first check at the irrigation controller. Make sure that there's no communication problem with the master valve. And then if there's not, then you know your decoder's working. And so then you would check those. You would make sure you have output going to the pump. And if you do, then you might have a problem with the pump, or you might have no water in the tank and the refill has not taken care of that. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but you see all the drip up here. You can see some drip right here. And then that 2-wire path keeps going through here, goes underneath that flagstone walkway and goes that way. All of that drip is, according to my map, survey says zone 1 also. So this is all zone 1. And then I talked about that the decoder was here, the solenoid and pressure regulator there, and then over there next to the stage across the front of the cafe path is where zone 1 goes. Feeds some water. Now right here on this walk path, if you follow down here, right about here where we turn to gold, we got some surface water that pops up in one of these zones. I haven't figured out yet, but leaking in the ground, and it might be this deal. So here's the deal we were just talking about. Glad to see this. See the water's going in there? That's because of this. Get this box on the turf. I don't know how to open things, apparently. Okay, there's a solenoid here. It's receiving power, and it's going through it. Pay no mind to that blue wire. The blue wire is in here, but we're not using it. At one point, the master valve decoder was in here, and then it went in the red and white wire into there, but they were shorting out. The way to fix that was sending the blue wire from the pot shop up there, across here to here, and then connecting, because the 2-wire path from 1 had gone down here, and that was not here, but we had a short, 2 shorts actually in the ground there, went across here and into that box. So we had shorts all over. You saw the splices up there, we got splices there now, and then we have this, and then the red and white. There was a problem there, so I said, hey, I got a good connection up there. I don't have to cross any paths. I'm going to go around there to turn on the master valve. So this blue wire now is extra. If you ever want to add to the system, you have a spot here and just connect it to the 2-wire there in front of the pot shop. But this is getting water from the well up the hill. The way it gets water is you got a master valve here and a ball valve here, and you got a hose bib. I think that ball valve actually just shuts off the hose bib, but you got a charge line to the solenoid. The solenoid is receiving a neutral or the hot from a transformer in the back of the pot shop here, where the ozone machine is. It goes to something else. Anyway, that transformer line goes under here, and it goes into here. One of the 2 lines of that transformer, one goes to the solenoid. Well, if it was always connected to the solenoid, it would always be on. But there's a float that goes into this submersible tank. And so when that float goes down, it continues the circuit. That means it's a pump up float. If that float ever goes bad, you need a pump up float. Just like a well filling a storage tank, this is a well storage tank with a pump filling this storage tank, other storage tanks. So when that thing goes down, it continues the circuit. And now we got 24 volts going to this solenoid. The solenoid opens up. And that solenoid opens up. The water goes through here into this pipe that gravity feeds into the top of a storage tank underneath this turf, which I've never seen, but that's my understanding of it, and definitely 100% the electric path of it. Now, inside here you got a couple splices and some line that we're not using anymore going to there that was green. From here the 2-wire path continues just to the right side of this oak tree in front of the, I call it the pot shop because you got all these pots out here and you can buy stuff here. It goes right around this tree, under here, into this box. Now you can see this blue line I've got. This is because our 2-wire path is compromised in multiple spots, and it actually charges this whole fence line up because there's a ground in it and it captures to that fence, and I'm not sure exactly where. The best way to move forward was to run a new line, and it goes behind the pot shop here all the way down that fence line until it connects to a box that has zone 25. So that also, this box has a decoder for zone 20 and a solenoid. Zone 20 is going to be all the drip in front of this pot shop. All of this is hand watering. So you got drip tubing in here, and repair needs to happen here, but we got a zip tie there holding it so it's not leaking. But all of this is drip tube for 20. Now right here, the compromised wire path actually goes through here and it follows this way and then beelines for the door of that dome. But it's, I believe, behind that building is where it's compromised. So we have added this line here on top of the ground, and Rick's gonna get it buried. This is part of the compromised line. Pay no attention to the shiny object. We're going back behind that building. I'll show you in a minute. But that power for that solenoid, that is the low water, because we haven't had rain now for about 4 weeks. So that tank is not getting rainwater, just a little bit of gray water. But here is that transformer. If this thing is bad or it's not plugged in, it doesn't send the signal down through those up to that box to open that solenoid. So that's how that tank gets water from a permanent source when we don't have rainwater or gray water enough to fill it. Of course, today is Monday, so we don't have any gray water going through there because it's off customer day. Now, we're down here by the dome. Had a couple things happen here. One thing to know is that all around here you see these beds, and then you see this wall with these emitters. Like I said, up by the HVAC unit, which is zone 7, and now here we are. We got those ones. Those are zone 23. And then these are zone 22 down here on the ground. And you got these pop-up indicators right here. And then you also have it on the other side, just right here, and an indicator here. But you can see, I wrote down right here, zone 23. Here's a cap. If you need 23 to go to something else, you unscrew that cap. Literally just unscrews. It's a male nipple in there, threaded in here, threaded into a threaded cap, and that's also connected to 23. Haven't figured out 24 yet. We're going to go back to that in a second, but we talked about 20 being over there, and then the 2-wire path. I want to stay on track with that 2-wire path as we go down. It used to go down into the first round box down there. Now it goes into a box right here, and this is going to overgrow again, but I'll show you in a minute. But that is zone 25. If you shut this ball valve in here, this is electrical. If you shut the ball valve off here, it stops water going to 25. But over there, there's an 8-inch round box, and you got a decoder and a solenoid in there that feeds 25, that then goes around here, goes under this bed that's 22, right next to the koi pond in here, somewhere over here. And then on the inside, we'll walk through there and come out the other side. This is 25. Goes through here under this little bit of turf out here, and then adapts to from the spray to drip. It goes through this under a sleeve there, under here. It's kind of dry by that area, but it wets again here, and then it wets again. You can see here's drip tube. Wets. You can see I ran it a little bit today. It goes through here, and at the end of that you got a pop-up indicator. That originally over there was intended to be a hose bib on the inside that you could turn into sprays, but they only saw that one path going through the foundation, and so the irrigation guys that were doing that added zone for the drip in there said, let's steal that tube. So I don't know where the water line connects to, and for all I know that's the 24 that we can't find. But here's what we got. In here is a pressure regulator. In here is zone 24, which used to be 18. All accounts are pointing to that. Here is 19. This was buried, another box that was buried, but 19 was here. Original irrigators said 19, 18, 2 and 3 are down here, and then they didn't know after that. They didn't get to 20 and beyond. Obviously we know 20 is up there by the pot shop. The solenoid, or the decoder here for 24, I think actually said 20 at one point and then was changed to 24. But 24 goes, this is hard to put back on with one hand, but 24 goes through here and then elbows over here and then elbows over here. And I cut it there, and when I turn on 24, water spits out here. I have no idea yet where it surfaces, but the path leads this way, and right there I opened up the ground and couldn't find it, so I think it actually might curve a little bit. The electric path, the 2-wire path that used to come down here, came down right here, and it went into this first round box. Later, and then it went from there and it jumped to 19. Later this was added, so there was another jumper into here, but this was buried, so we had a problem, and we had that blue wire coming over here. But then when 25 was added, 25 adds from this oval box, which has 22 and 23, and it goes up this way right to the edge of that bed over there where I showed you the capped section, and then it follows around. The 2-wire path goes around here and it dead ends at that box 25, which is the very last box. So the very furthest point down here is in box for 25. The very first northern point is in the box for 21 by that farm dump truck in the upper parking, just after it raises up. And then you also have the last end over there behind the gift shop. There's a dead end at the control box. So those are the dead ends down here, up there, and in the middle it tees off over there. But that's the whole path coming down to here. Now from 25 there's that new green wire I said that goes through there, and then it connects into here. So that's where our 2-wire path goes, from box 20 in the blue wire, then it goes to green wire, then it comes down here into the top of 22 and 23. Now these ones, kind of nice. Everything is all contained. Decoder, solenoid, pressure regulator. Love it. That's the way it should be. Makes things a whole lot easier than when they're all separated. Goes from there, jumps over here to 2 and 3 and 24 decoders, and then from there jumps over to 19. 19 feeds all of this bed here. Thought the 24 might feed down here, but it doesn't. I did a lot of digging to discover that. 19 actually comes, well, I don't know where it ends up going, but it starts here, and at some point it goes off. And I do know that I dug up a trench from right here to there, then a 45's over, then a 45's over, then a 90's into there, and 90's up to a T. And this is all 1/2-inch line. Now that's the spot earlier in the video, so you can see the drip over there. Drips all down here by 783, and it stops at that corner and makes a hook, so it goes all around and interconnects at that T. But earlier I talked about that it's all purple line. This section, as I was digging it out, I hammered into it and broke some of that pipe, well, punctured some of it, so I had to replace it, and I just had white. So same size, 1/2 inch, but it's white just right here. Doesn't change the fact that it's still not potable water. Over here now, 24 decoders in here. I believe this used to be 18. If you run 18 on the control unit, it's going to give you a fault. It's the only one that's going to give you a fault saying can't communicate, E5. So I believe at one point this was 18, this was 19, this is 2 and 3 in there also as single decoders, then as dual decoders, as single decoders. Now it's a dual decoder because they were sharing the common off of 2 and 3 as single decoders going under the ground here. There's a lot of problems with that circuit, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Still working on that. But that's 2 and 3 are the island over there, they're drips. The solenoids are over there, and there's a single pressure regulator. We've got 4 wires that go over there. Over there you see a different wire completely than the 4 wires you see start here. Red, 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 and white start here. Over there you got red and white, red, and a big ass white. How it changes, I don't know, but it wasn't working right. Only one of those zones would work, and it's the one that feeds the mountain laurel around the sign and all the drip that's closer to this side of the parking lot. Actually haven't found any drip closer to 783 on that side. It's all on this side, and it's possible that both of those solenoids get water when the first one is open. Which is problematic because the controller is only going to open up one of those 2 solenoids at a time. So, let's see, what else do we miss? This is all 19 up here we talked about. We got all that. Now, on the map, you see 2 and 3, that's all that. We see all this, 24 question mark to the dome, that's actually 25, so this map is going to change. You see 20 in front of the pot shop there. You see 1 is the front of the cafe and around the gift shop. You see 15 is that bed there. 14 is this whole back line. 17, 16 is that grass. You got this island here that's 13. 13 by those benches. 13, that's the new tree area. It's not labeled on here, but that is 13. And this is questionable there, but the old map says 13. You got 10. I show 10 here. That's not accurate. 10 is actually down here in between 12 and 13, right before that flagstone path, and then in front of it on this side. And then you've got 8 and 9. Those are accurate. And you've got 7, which is around the HVAC unit. 12 is all this bedding in front of the lifted up area that connects the walk path of crushed granite to the flagstone there. You got 6 is the bed where the propane tank is behind the trash. 4 and 5 are the grass over there. And then 21 is up here, just in the lifted up parking spot. Now we've got some other irrigation that runs off of some other pump and controllers up at the very top. One is off of a bigger storage tank, one is off of a smaller storage tank. When you look at those 2 Rainbird control units, the one that's higher up vertically off the ground turns on the submersible pump in an elevated tank that's about 500 gallons. And pump guys kind of messed that thing up. We're working on that right now, but that's going to feed just the drip irrigation in front of the snack shack, and then all of the plants and grass up around the outside of the cafe playground area, past that slide through fence gate area into the stage area yard. That's all going to be served off of the second Rainbird control unit back there, and that gets water from the bigger storage unit that's sitting on the ground over there next to the, or right behind the snack shack near that elevated storage tank. And of those 2 Rainbird control valves, it's the one that's closer to the ground than the other one we talked about that serves just that snack shack drip tubing from the elevated storage tank. That's just about everything. You still have septic tank over here. Not really sure if there's tubing in here off of 11 also. I believe so, but not 100% positive. And then a lot of these other boxes you see back here are going to be grease trap stuff. Let's see what else we were missing. Here's a pop-up indicator for 12. we were missing the irrigation decoder, or solenoid I should say, for 11. So here is my 2-wire path. You can see 4, 5, 6, 7 decoder is right here. 8, 9, 10 decoder is here. 8 and 9 are combined. These ones with the dash means they're a 2-zone decoder. When you program these, you program it for the first zone. That's going to be the orange wire. Automatically it assigns the next numerical zone to the yellow wire. So you only program this 2-zone decoder for 12. So you got 11, 12, 13, and 14 in here. So that's the one that for some reason I was missing the decoder, but the solenoid is the one actually I said, where's that solenoid? That's my drip zone, that's all my stuff. Okay, so in the box, you're gonna see this, or in the booklet, you're gonna have these. I should probably do a better video, but you're gonna have the zones and the decoders. You're gonna have where they spray, and then you're gonna have each station. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, Zone 10. So here's Zone 11. You can see Zone 11. The decoder and the solenoid are in this box. That's right, because that box had 11 and another, let's see, that had 11 in there. Sorry, this should have been better organized for the video. It's a long video. Alright. 11. Solenoid and decoders in there. 12. Decoder, dual zone with 13, and solenoid in this rectangle box. Okay. And you can see what it serves. 13. You can see what it serves. I need to add this because it also serves that. And the solenoid for 13 is over here in the grass. So the decoder is in this box right here, but the solenoid is here for 13. And then you saw that the solenoid for 14 was in the middle of the grass. We had to find that, and that's for that back mulch bed zone right here. Decoder's in here, solenoid's here, serves all this. Too big, not enough water pressure. Anyway, everything you need is going to be found in here, mapped out. But I wanted to do a visual video, even though it's freaking long. Sometimes seeing it in person helps tremendously versus seeing it on a map. So that is the Ridge Irrigation in a nugget shell. All right. How do I turn this on?